Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, September the 27th. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel at youtube.com, District of Summerland. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Members of the public may access the meeting or participate in the following ways. Again, you can watch the meeting live or recorded on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. You can request to speak during the meeting if you have not registered in advance and wish to speak during the public comment opportunities. You can connect to the meeting by calling the meeting conference line at 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374. and passcode 485186. After I have provided everyone who has pre-registered with an opportunity to comment, the floor will be open to those on the conference line. Corporate Officer, do we have any late items to introduce?
There are no late items.
Thank you. I'll ask Council for approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Patton, all in favor? Thank you. And adoption of the minutes, August the 23rd Committee of the Whole meeting and the regular meeting of the same date. Councillor Van Elfen and Holmes, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to 5.1, and we have one delegation this afternoon joining us is Chelsea Mossy, who is the Senior Manager of Government Relations with BC Transit. Please go ahead, Ms. Mossy.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good afternoon, Council. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here, and it's actually going to be my colleague, Adriana McMullen, our Senior Transit Planner, who's going to start off our presentation today.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. It's nice to be here. My name is Adriana McMullen. I'm a Senior Transit Planner with BC Transit, and I am joined by Chelsea Mossy. We are here this afternoon to go over a few quick topics. We have an upcoming service change. We have an update for the Transit Future Action Plan. Chelsea will be sharing some information about free transit for children 12 and under, and we would ask that if you have any questions, you please hold them to the end. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Thanks. So coming up this January, we are looking to some service improvements for the Route 30. Your Route 30 is the route that travels between Summerland and Penticton. It began in October of 2013 and is currently 4 round trips a day, and it only operates on weekdays. Starting this January, we will be adding in 900 hours of service, and we sent out a postcard survey to the community to try and determine when it would be best to introduce those new hours in terms of times. And we had a resoundingly strong response to the option to introduce a new midday weekday trip, so between 12 and 1-ish, and also brand new service on Saturdays, which currently does not have service. So that had a very strong response. 78% of the respondents were in favor of that, and we had over 200 participants in the survey. So yeah, stay tuned. That will be coming soon to you. Next slide, please. In terms of the Transit Future Action Plan, the purpose of the Transit Future Action Plan is to provide an update to the 2015 Transit Plan that was written for the South Okanagan and Similkameen areas. The purpose is to basically inform future transit decision making and review the priorities that we had identified back in 2015. With the adoption of this midday and Saturday service, we're actually progressing quite well towards some of the priorities that had been identified in 2015. So this is a great chance to come out and understand what else the community would like to see for transit in your area. And then moving forward in the next 5 to 6 years, we will be producing a further update to the plan. That's the cycle that we work in. Next slide, please. We did begin the Transit Future Action Plan process before the pandemic. And unfortunately, the pandemic struck just as we were partway through the process. And so there was a hiatus owing to the pandemic. And then there was the BC election. So we were set to come back out this past spring, and we had some engagement in Penticton that we were hoping to carry out that unfortunately we will have to postpone until a later year. But in the meantime, we are still on track to continue the general public engagement that we had been planning to do this fall. And so I'm pleased to share that the engagement for this plan will possibly be the first in-person open houses that BC Transit holds following the pandemic. We understand that your community is very hard copy and paper driven. And although we have some really exciting new engagement platforms, there is a lot of value in trying to be there in person and be able to chat with the community members and understand what their needs are. So our target is to be there for the week of November 22nd. We will be holding off on publicizing our in-person locations until just prior to being there, about a week before, and there will be newspaper ads, notes or signs on the buses, and of course, information through our website. I hope you can appreciate there's a little bit of nervousness in the event that things go sideways, that we may have to, or we may not be able to be in person for whatever reason. So that's the reason for holding off on publicizing the locations until a little bit closer to when it begins. Normally we advertise 2 weeks before events of that nature. So fingers crossed it goes well, and we'll have a chance to get out there, and it would be a pleasure for this to be one of the first place that we do get to go back and do in-person engagement in. Yeah, and that is what I have for the Transit Future Action Plan, and we hope to get it wrapped up and endorsed by early 2022.
All right. And just our final slide here is just an update on free transit for children 12 and under throughout the province of British Columbia. In the 2021 budget announcement, the province committed to making transit more affordable for families throughout the province of BC by offering free transit for children up to and including the age of 12. The province provided funding to BC Transit for the benefit of our local government partners to replace revenue that otherwise would have been collected through this age demographic, either through the fare box or through prepaid fare products. So this program is now operational as of September 1st, 2021, and we're excited about its potential to build transit ridership habits from a very young age. And that is it. It's a brief presentation, but we are open to questions if you have any for us. And I'll stop sharing our screen.
Thank you, you two. Council, any questions for our delegation today? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. Just regarding the Transit Future Plan and engagement, I thought the cards that were mailed out to get the response for the Saturday service or the evening service was really good. It was really clear, and I really thought that was excellent. And I was just wondering what kind of response you got on those cards, and is that kind of I think that's kind of a sort of engagement that might work here.
Through the chair, yes, we had a fairly strong response. We got 203 postcards returned to us. No, sorry, we had 160 postcards returned to us, about, plus or minus a couple, and then about 40 or so surveys which were completed online. You'll recall that the postcards had the QR code on them, so people who are comfortable using the online format could scan the code and do the online survey. So it was a good response. I think for this area, for short, brief questions, it might be something we would consider in the future. The Transit Future Action Plan priorities are a bit more complex than just choose one option over the other. So in that case, I think there's a lot of strength in us being able to be there physically and be able to guide people through the priorities that have been identified, and also help clarify which ones have already been accomplished. This upcoming expansion, as I mentioned, is going to end up accomplishing some of those that had been in the 2015 plan. So I think, to me, the success of the postcards just shows that physical presence and the physical items is a strength for your community. And that's part of our interest in the South Okanagan, or in the Transit Future Action Plan for the South Okanagan Similkameen, being the first plan we go back out to do in-person engagement for.
Okay, thank you. And to follow up, if I may. And then you mentioned the priorities for the Transit Future Plan. Can you give us any idea of what sort of priorities there would be for Summerland, and specifically, would you be looking at asking about local fixed routes in Summerland?
Yes, through the chair. Yes, so the priorities that we had previously identified for Summerland included the introduction of Saturday service, the potential introduction of evening service on the Route 30, and then the 2015 plan also had identified some potential routings for fixed local service. And that will be what people have an opportunity to give input on for this Transit Future Action Plan. And certainly, I'm looking forward to seeing what the response is from the community. We've all heard from some community members already that it is of interest. So yeah, we'll see.
Anyone else, council? All right, so could I have someone bring forward, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. I'll ask council if someone could bring forward the motion to receive for information, please. Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Patton. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? And none opposed. Thank you, that carries. Thank you again, ladies, for attending our afternoon council meeting.
Thank you for having us.
Update. Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have anyone on my list. No, okay, so we'll skip over the public comment opportunity at 6.1 and go on to the first of several business items, 7.1, fees and charges for transit fares related to the presentation we just had, an amendment bylaw number 2021-012, and that is for Dave.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Council just received a presentation from BC Transit representatives, one of the topics discussed was the Free Transit for Children Under 12 program. And as the name suggests, BC Transit is providing free transit to children under the ages of 12, effective September 1st. The province has committed to covering the anticipated lost revenues of $580 annually. So the net financial impact on the district should be zero. The district's current fees and charges bylaw needs to be revised in order to accommodate this program. And as we were making the necessary bylaw changes, it was noted that the existing bylaw, which has not been updated since 2013, also required some minor changes to the fee schedules in order to align with BC Transit current fare schedule. All changes have been addressed, and the amendment bylaw is ready for first 3 readings. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council? It's fairly straightforward. Could I have someone bring forward the staff recommendation, please? Or another recommendation, if you wish. Councillor Holmes.
The fees and charges, transit fares amendment bylaw number 2021-012 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Patton. Discussion? All in favor? And none are opposed, so that carries. Thank you. And this next one also is for Dave, the financial plan 2021 to 2025. Another amendment to bylaw number 2021-035.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on February 26th, 2021, Summerland Council adopted the 2021 through 2025 financial plan, which provides the legal authority for the district to expend funds. Since that date, Council has made numerous financial decisions that impact the financial plan. These decisions need to be incorporated into the financial plan as required by the community charter. The proposed financial plan amendment bylaw does just that. The council report itemizes all of the required amendments, and I'll discuss a few as part of this summary. The bylaw amendment includes the addition of $70,000 for a sustainable village, which is funded through the land sale reserve. It includes the addition of $368,750 for development services software and regional portal project, which is 100% grant funded. And it also includes an increase in the Arts Culture Center budget of $71,000, $36,000 funded through the land sale reserve, with the remaining $35,000 allocated from the budget savings from the museum roof replacement project. There are more, as noted in the report. However, those were the highlighted ones. So this bylaw now the proposed bylaw amendment is ready for first 3 readings. And that concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave on this? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question through to our David. Health and Wellness Center funding reallocated from 2024 general capital plan to 2021. Is that common practice that we transfer from 2024, being that a lot of us may not be here, like council-wise? Just guessing.
So through the mayor, when council had originally adopted the bylaw, there was $100,000 allocated annually from 2021 to, I believe it was 2024. When the proposals and staff were looking at putting forward the assessment that's currently being worked on, it was noted that the $100,000 of funding in 2021 was not adequate to cover off all of the works. So at that point in time, council made a resolution to transfer $100,000 from 2024 to 2021 in order for those 2 assessments to move forward.
Any other questions? Okay, could I have someone bring forward thank you, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That financial plan 2021 to 2025 amendment bylaw number 2021-035 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Van Elfen. Further discussion. Councillor Van Elfen.
I know it's very trivial, Madam Mayor, and splitting hairs, so to speak, I guess, but I'd really like if we would stick with the terminology eco-village instead of sustainability village. The general public out there is aware that we're discussing an eco-village and working hard on that project. So I'd like to keep the name the same as when it originated, if possible. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
CAO.
No concern with that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Eco-village it is. Any further discussion on this? Okay, for the first, second, and third time, all in favor? Great. That carries unanimously. Now on to 7.3, driveway access bylaw amendment number 2021-034. And Bobby's going to speak on this.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. Staff are proposing a number of housekeeping amendments and a few additions to the driveway access bylaw. I think we've got some slides to throw up That's possible, Roland.
Could you move the podium? Yes, so that it is within the range of the camera that is poking its little eye out of there.
No, that's good.
That's much better, thank you.
Won't matter much once we get the slides up. Oh,
Brad, that has to stay open because the camera's there. Just the one, yes, that one. Thank you. Okay, Bobby.
I think we're settled in.
Yes.
So I'm sure all of you recall visiting this bylaw earlier this year in March to add two sections, one being the number of driveways section to the bylaw and a location of driveways to the bylaw. If it'll go. So getting into some of the content of it, 4 definitions that staff have proposed to be added to the bylaw are listed on the screen before you. The most critical definitions that provide a clear interpretation are road frontage and urban residential zones. The term urban residential zones is referenced back to the zoning bylaw, which includes all residential zones from RSD1, which is low density, to RHD, which is high density. Where the term road frontage comes into play is that staff proposed to provide an interpretation within the definition to prescribe the types of dwellings that the applicable sections of the driveway access bylaw apply to, as well as the types of dwellings that these applicable sections do not apply to. So saying that the term road frontage will be linked directly to the existing number of driveways section, as we will get to with some of the wording amendments within the existing bylaw. The intent is to have the number of driveway section apply to all urban residential zones as defined, except for apartment housing or multifamily housing that has a shared communal parking area. So this illustration on the screen provides a little bit of guidance as to what the term driveway means compared to driveway access. Driveway access being the access from the road to property line, and then a separate definition for driveway from the property line to the dwelling. The second proposed amendment is to remove the term single family from the bylaw entirely. Currently, this term only exists in sections 2.1 and 2.2. And this is to align with the proposed definition addition, which would align with the zoning bylaw and contribute to the intent that we're trying to get behind this. The third amendment is similar to the second by updating the term driveways to driveway access within sections 3.1 and 3.2. The location of the driveways should not only be applicable to driveway accesses, the location of driveways should only be applicable to driveway accesses in relation to the entrance of a public roadway and not the actual on-site driveway itself. So just another amendment to align with our new definition section. The fourth proposed amendment is to add a maximum driveway access width to section 4.1 and 4.2, as well as some minor wording amendments to align with the new proposed definition section. Currently, the District of Summerland does not limit the width of driveway accesses to a single roadway. Staff note that a number of municipalities in BC do limit the maximum number or the maximum width of driveways. However, the majority appear not to. The maximum widths throughout BC that staff have identified range from 8.2 meters to 6 meters. being the maximum width. Staff are recommending that council adopt a maximum width of 7.5 meters in urban residential zones, with a caveat that the Director of Works and Infrastructure, upon demonstrated need, may grant a max width of up to 50% of the length of the lot line for which the driveway access is cited. The caveat will hopefully reduce the likelihood that council will need to hear a variance from applicants as a result of this addition. Staff came to the proposed maximum width of 7.5 meters to align with the MMCD design guidelines, as we did similarly with the addition of the number of driveways section and the location of driveway section earlier this year. Staff are also basing our subdivision and development servicing bylaw redo to better align with MMCD as well. By adding the number of driveways section earlier this year, staff find that an unforeseen issue has come up, being that if the district denies a request for a secondary driveway to a single property, the applicant may wish to pave their entire frontage, which currently is technically permitted. Currently, as there is no maximum driveway width listed in the bylaw. By a resident paving their entire frontage, effectively creating multiple accesses to the public roadway, the previous amendment to limit the number of accesses becomes obsolete and defeats the intent of the number of driveway section of this bylaw. It's also very difficult to capture surface storm runoff from driveways that are excessively wide, whether it be through grading or private infrastructure to capture the water. It becomes very onerous on the property owner, and eventually the water will just end up on the district's roads for us to maintain. So the intent of this proposed addition is not to remove the existing accesses that contravene this proposed amendment, but it's to enforce the maximum width permitted on new applications for driveways and new builds. So just a continuation of this section of the proposed amendment, that maximum width would be inserted into this section as well as 4.2. However, again, with the definitions proposed to be added, we need to update the term roads or road to driveway or driveway access as it applies. Again, similarly here with section 5, this term driveway needs to be updated to reflect the proposed definition section and read driveway access. And once again here in section 6, the term driveway access needs to be changed to just read driveway. And finally, the last of the proposed amendments are to remove the existing schedules A and C, which are outdated application forms, and then renaming existing schedule B to read schedule A. It is not current practice to include application forms in bylaws any longer, as staff would need to come to council technically to update them every single time that we wish to do so. So in closing, staff recommend that driveway access amendment bylaw 2021-034 be given first, second, and third readings this afternoon. Thank you for your time. I will take any questions.
Thank you, Bobby. Councillor Batten has a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. More of a comment. I talked to a couple of our builder contractors yesterday that have no idea that this is coming through. The whole premise behind our Development Services Committee was to bring changes that are going to affect our development community. And this is going, though minor, it's still going to affect our contractors. And I feel I would like to table this until our Director of Development Services brings it forward to the Development Services Development Committee, please.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Are there any questions for Bobby? And then we'll talk about this proposal. Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Carlson.
Yeah, just a question, if I may. So is there a max width for the driveway itself, or we're just proposing it for the access, and then in theory it could then fan out and be a much larger driveway?
Yeah, through the chair. That is the intent, is for the wording of the proposed addition to maximum width of driveways and the newly added definition. It would only apply to driveway accesses, meaning from the road to the property line, and then it could fan out on property.
So there is no maximum width for the driveway itself?
That's correct.
Was that picture of the double driveway with the paved frontage a Summerland new build or a Summerland home?
Through the chair, I purposely did not choose a Summerland home.
But we've seen this happening in Summerland.
We have heard discussion of potentially trying to do that, yes.
Okay. When it comes to paving a driveway like that, does that get included in the lot coverage calculation?
As far as I know, it does not. Our Director of Development Services could confirm. Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they would have to calculate very carefully if someone determined that's how they wanted to pave their driveway just to get a second access. Yes? Okay, thank you.
Suppose so.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I will get back to Councillor Patton. I am presuming we'll need a resolution for this. Yes. Would you like to bring that forward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That the draft driveway access bylaw be tabled until a meeting of the Development Process Committee can be included for comment. I'm sure our corporate officer can do far better than I will in regards to outlining it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. I'll just give Kendra a moment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it'd be that the Summerland Driveway Access Amendment Bylaw number 2021-034 be tabled. It would be tabled until, and I'm sorry, I don't actually know the name of the full committee off the top of my head, so I'd put the name of the full committee, can provide comment to be brought back to council.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Discussion, Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not quite sure on process, but I thought that maybe you weren't allowed to have discussion on a motion to table. Is that, I just don't want to do anything out of process here.
Thank you, Councillor. So there's two ways you could do it. We could have a motion to table with the wording in it, or you can vote on the main motion and instead of, where it says carried or deferred, you can defer it or table it that way as well. So either way is correct.
But I mean,
I think he's asking about discussion.
I apologize. So it would be like a motion. If we're going to vote on it, then I wouldn't have any more discussion.
Okay.
Okay, so we haven't had any discussion. So I will call the question. That's what you're suggesting, Kendra, is that we not have any discussion on this?
Because it's being brought forward in a motion format, you could have discussion and then you would vote on it, because it would be a motion that we are essentially carrying. We're not defeating the motion in that purpose, or we're tabling it in that, sorry, for lack of the better terms, in that aspect. We're actually having, we're tabling it in the actual motion itself.
Okay, is there anybody that would like to comment on this in terms of discussion before we vote? Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known, maybe if it wasn't for Councillor Patton's comments, that maybe this was significant enough for our contractor construction community to want to comment on, but I accept what he has to say. It seems like consultation is always the safest route. I'm not sure, though, if the Development Process Improvement Committee is the right place. It would be a start.
Councillor Patton and then Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The consultation part is, and when we developed when this committee came forward, was for this fact is that we were passing bylaws, we were changing what was happening with our development community, and the development community did not know. All I'm saying is they may not even have any issues with it, but it is our contractors and our developers that are going to be dealing with these driveways. And what would happen is at time of construction, if it is wrong because they didn't realize this bylaw is in place, then it would cost them money when there is no need for it if we could get the message out to them prior to that this was coming forward. And we've got a very active committee and which have members of all areas and with our community that would get this message out, especially with the Canadian home builders. And so I think it's just part of our due diligence to ensure that our community, our building community is up to date. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
Councillor Patton, do you know if this went to the committee a few months ago when it came forward? In the previous version?
If I may, Madam Mayor? No, we haven't spoke on this in regards to from when we had our meeting in March on the changes for wording. No.
And also the last, there was no, the first time it came up, they didn't talk about it, and now it's come up again and they haven't. So you're suggesting at least to put it out there so they're aware of it, as opposed to just doing it and then fixing it again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. When somebody applies to, say, build a new home and the driveway access and the driveway itself is included in the, is it included in the building permitting process?
That is correct, Madam Mayor. There is an application form that can either be applied through separately, separate from a building permit, or with a building permit. It is included in the package, and the applicants are provided with a list of a summarized requirements of the driveway access bylaw at that time, so prior to construction.
So then they really, I'm just, with all respect to what you said, Councillor Patton, it seems to me that as a construction company or a general contractor, that's part of their due diligence, and that the information is included as they are looking at getting a building permit for the construction.
Yeah, that is correct. Like I said, with application of a building permit or upon a separate driveway access application, they are provided with a summarized list of requirements of what the driveway construction must consist of prior to construction of said driveway.
And so I have another question. It's kind of hypothetical as well. Would there be, and maybe Councillor Patton can answer this as well, because he's a lot more closely connected to the development committees or community than I am, that's for sure. I'm wondering if this is something that would come up fairly often, that the house would be built and, oh no, we need to change the driveway access or the driveway. Does that come up fairly often? I can think myself of one incident that happened, I think it was earlier this year or last year. I'm wondering if this is something that comes up fairly often.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. In my experience, the issue is not with people who have applied and have built their driveway and done it through the correct avenues. In my experience, it is people who may not know of the requirement to apply for a driveway access before they build it, and it gets done, and then there's a bylaw file opened, and we go down that avenue, right? So that's the more common occurrence to when people aren't in compliance with the bylaw after building a driveway. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. That better informs my decision. Thank you. Councillor Patton, did you have anything to add? I thought I saw your hand kind of creeping up.
Yeah, no, thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the main criteria in regards would be the plan checking component, which would be our building inspectors. When that application comes in, it's the building inspector that would do the plan review in regards to that and would flag the driveway access. At that point, if the driveway did not meet the bylaw, then it would have to go back for redesign, which would then again add more timelines to where we'd have to go back to the designer, or the contractor would have to do changes to the drawings, and then would have to resubmit back to our building department to get approval to get that permit. So again, it's this, I think, the communication, we're just doing our due diligence to make sure that time is money for our building community, and this would just add cost to their initial plan reviews. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Thanks, that clarifies even further. Okay, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.4, Municipal Signing Authority Policy Amendment. This is for Kendra.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So before council is the amended Municipal Signing Authority Policy, and these amendments are basically administrative in nature, and they are to reflect the current position titles and include their respective deputies. And additionally, the policy has been updated to reflect the current policy template.
Thank you. Is there a question on this for Kendra? Okay, could I have someone bring forward the resolution, please? Councillor, oh, did you have something to add, Kendra? Oh, no. Okay, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That Council Policy 200.7 Municipal Signing Authority be amended as attached to the report of the corporate officer dated September 27, 2021.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Patton. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, that's approved. .5, Acting Mayor Schedule Amendment, and this is to the corporate officer again.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. So before council is an amendment to the acting mayor schedule to switch the appointments of Councillor Traynor and Councillor Patton for October and November 2021.
All good with that, Councillor Patton?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Could I have someone bring forward the resolution, please? Councillor Carlson.
Want me to read it?
Yes, please.
I'll move that the 2021 acting mayor schedule be amended by designating Councillor Patton as acting mayor for October and Councillor Traynor as acting mayor for November.
Thank you. Councillor Patton, or sorry, Councillor Van Elfen. Oh, you're getting ready to vote. Okay, all in favor? Great, thank you. And none opposed to that, so that's approved as well.
ask a question?
Yes.
I was just wondering, I was looking for the acting mayor schedule some time ago, and the only place I was able to find it was from that December 2020 meeting where it was set, and it was different than the one we have here. So I'm just wondering where, and I don't know when the changes were made, and I couldn't. Is there a place where this acting mayor schedule sits where you can find it?
It's on our website.
Couldn't find it.
Oh, that's where I found it, but
Okay.
it maybe it's tricky to find. I don't know. Kendra?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So sorry, I was unaware if it was on the website. Usually, most of the time, it's just an internal document that, the organization would use. I'm just opening up the file to see what was brought forward to compare.
It's not a big deal. I was just wondering. Thanks.
Yeah, so I apologize. Sorry, it's just taking me a second. So the two that we had and that we've been going for internal use do match with just the amendments to be included. I'm not sure which one you had found.
I just looked at the agenda from December 14th, 2020, which is when it came to council, and that was approved. That's the only place I was able to find it. Anyway, it's not important, so we don't need to hold up council business. Thanks.
Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest, if you looked at the agenda, maybe it's different than what's in the minutes. Maybe there was some discussion and some names were swapped around, and the minutes would have a different schedule. No.
No.
All right. I think we're good to go on this one. Thank you, Councillor Holmes, for bringing that up. We have an adopted acting mayor's schedule now. Okay, so has anyone shown up that wants to speak?
We have no registered members of the public to speak during this as well.
Thank you. Resolution to close the meeting to the public. Please, Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? Great, thank you. We're going to take a